Hi, and welcome to Forgiveness 101. Forgiveness is really important for healing things and letting things go. As important as the Self Forgiveness 101. These should be done side by side, really, just to completely clear things out. And so, step one is forgiving others. Okay? And so I'll give you a bit of background on this because I'm a bit of an expert in this field with everything that I've been through in my life. And starting off with a violent alcoholic dad and a brother who did the same things but also raped and molested me and got his friends to do that too. A narcissistic mother who was quite cruel emotionally and mentally, and then with that kind of background, attracting people into my life who were also abusive, and an ex-husband who tried to stop me from seeing the children, turn their children against me, and all kinds of things have gone on in my life, rapes, and so there's been a lot for me to forgive. And there's been a lot of times, or a long time, when it was really hard to forgive, when I was really angry about it and still felt like a victim about it. And what I found was the best way to forgive was to get in touch with my higher self and start to look at the situation from their perspective. Okay, so when you've got someone to forgive, when you feel like someone's hurt you, or when you're feeling angry towards someone or any kind of a negative energy towards someone and what they've done to you, this is what to do. Know that what they're making you feel in this moment is how they were feeling. Okay, so if they hurt you, they were hurting in exactly the same way, and that's why they did what they did. Okay, and so some of us, it's hard for some of us to understand why people kind of feel something and then do exactly the same thing to someone else, because you and I, we don't do that kind of thing. We feel how horrible it is in the first place and we don't want to pass it on to someone else. But then again, we can understand it, can't we? Because sometimes when we're hurt, we want to lash out straight away, and we do lash out straight away. And so we each of us have that in us. When something happens to us or we feel a certain way, we want to make someone else feel that way. And that's like the base, like childlike instinct of reaction. And so this is the understanding to get that this person that hurt you, did whatever they did, was operating from exactly the same place as the hurt that you're feeling now, just not with the same awareness that you're at right now. And so they either lashed out to make you feel the same way because they thought that might make them feel better, or they've been through a similar situation and feel like you feel now, and they thought that they were protecting you from that. Okay, and so when you start to see it from that perspective, you can start to have compassion from them. So I'm going to go into that a little bit more. So you can have compassion for them reacting back. And it's like forgiving yourself for lashing back at someone when someone's hurt you. We've all done that. We've all done that, and we can forgive ourselves for it. It's just a natural base instinct that we do when we're hurt. And so if we can forgive ourselves for that, then we can forgive other people for that too, even if it's on a bigger scale. The aspect of when they were trying to actually show their love for you or protect you from it comes in, particularly when it's about family. And so often what parents will do, if they're not doing the whole lashing back thing and delivering exactly what they got to their children when they were children themselves, they're trying to figure out how to stop you from going through what they went through. And often when they do that, they don't make the best decisions of how to do that. So they're not actually tapped into their higher self to find out how for you not to hurt in that same way. They're just doing it from what they've figured out might have been better for them. And so they end up doing something to you, or teaching you something, or giving you certain beliefs or certain experiences that they thought would be better, would be protecting you from something. And so it's good to see it from their perspective in that case, and this requires you to really start softening and opening your heart to even be able to do this, because when someone's hurt you, you need to soften and open yourself, not in front of that person. Like, I would never do that. All of these people that have been in my life, all of these abusers, they're not in my life now. I can forgive them, but there's no way at all I would ever have them in my life again. That's not what forgiveness is. That's smart, and that's having boundaries. That's having clear boundaries and protecting myself and loving myself. So you don't need to do it in front of the person, but you just need to do it when you're alone, and open your heart to be able to even get through all of that hurt, to be able to focus on what their perspective might have been. So I've worked with many people over the years of contacting their higher selves in order to find, and the other person's higher selves, in order to find what was really going on there. And that's why I know that it's not just about this reaction thing, that often, especially parents and family, do what they think is best, do what they think is going to protect their child from the hurt and the pain that they went through when they were children and growing up. And as I said, they often make decisions and thinking that they're protecting their child that doesn't actually protect them at all, or gives them a whole different hurt kind of experience. Whenever we make choices based out of fear, which is what that is, if something's hurt you, you make a choice out of fear not to pass that on to your children, and so that's based in fear. Whenever we make decisions based from fear, it never really works out well. And so again, that's all the more reason to forgive people, because we've all been there. We've all made decisions out of fear and it not worked out well. And this is all about learning that you're not a victim. You're not a victim to anyone, that you can either choose to hold on to the hurt and feel like a victim to them, or you can choose to soften your heart, not confronting the person, but soften your heart to them just by yourself, and see things from their perspective. And even if you can't imagine, it is really hard to imagine, especially with the abuse that I went through, the severe abuse that I went through. It kind of drove me half crazy to try and see things from their perspective, to try and understand how people could make such horrific decisions to do those things to someone else. And so I don't suggest to go very deep with that at all, because those kind of things, they just aren't understandable. But what is understandable is how someone who is so hurt, like I was, if they don't have the awareness like I had, that they could make reactionary decisions and pass it on to me or whoever else it was in that situation. And that's all the understanding that you need, and just the compassion that you can get from having an open-hearted approach like that is all the forgiveness that you need. To me, the word forgiveness, I forgive them, it doesn't conjure up much emotion, but when I can actually soften and open my heart and look with compassion on anyone that's wronged me, and admit that they were hurt, they were hurting, and this was just whatever level of awareness they were at, how they could best cope with it, whether it made them feel better to hurt someone else, to retaliate, or whether it made them feel better to close themselves off, or whatever it was that they did, it made them feel better in some way, better than the hurt, the pain that they were originally feeling. And so just being able to soften and open my heart to that makes me feel lighter. And this is what it's all about, forgiveness. It's all about feeling lighter. And we do need to forgive people. We need to forgive. We have the power to do that within ourselves, because forgiveness is all about ourselves. When we're forgiving other people, it's just we're letting go of the pain that it's causing us, the victimhood that it's keeping us in. And that's what it's all about, is letting go of that. And then you find, if you've got patterns going on in your life, like I did, like attracting abusers, attracting rapists, when you've got to this point of forgiveness, you just don't attract those people anymore. You're not holding that vibration anymore of I'm a victim of whatever, and they don't show up in your life anymore. So it's so important to do it. And it's interesting because I've got an example that I want to go through with you that's just come up for me today. I went to the bank today to open up a new bank account, and got some US dollar royalty checks to put into that bank account to kind of start it off. And as I was doing all of that, I came away from the bank with this really horrible, sick feeling in my stomach. And it felt like doubt. When I was really tapping into it, it felt like doubt. And I knew that it was connected to being single now. I could just feel that it was connected to being single now. And there was this doubt of myself. And I'd gone into the bank so confident, and I've dealt with so many financial things for me and my partners that it didn't make much sense that I was feeling this really sick feeling. And so when I got home, I connected in with that, and I got this memory back of my old boss. So years ago when I left my ex-husband, and then I was leaving my job, my boss at the time asked what I'd be doing in Australia, and I said, I'll be starting a business. And he said, you won't be able to do it alone. And I said, well, what do you mean? No, he was talking about making money. Like, you won't be able to make money alone. And I said, what do you mean? It was me that made all the money for me and my ex-husband. It was me that made all the investment choices. It was me that was looking after all the money. I didn't come in with debt. I sorted it all out. I bought the house. I did all of it. Of course I'll continue to make the money. And he said, no, you wouldn't have done it without him, and you won't do it without someone. And I thought that I had disagreed with him at that time. And yet here is this memory coming back when I'm feeling sick with doubt of myself now that I'm single after going into the bank. And that was exactly what it was about. And so what I did was the self-healing 101. And so I talked to myself in the mirror, talked to my subconscious, saying, even though you're really scared of doing it alone, even though you don't think you can make the money when you're alone, even though you crave the security of having someone else there, even though you're doing it all alone anyway, I know you're scared about that, and thank you so much for protecting me, but I've got this now, I can do this now. And so I cleared all of that, and it felt a lot lighter. But that's not where it ends, because I've cleared it out of the subconscious there, but the forgiveness needs to be done too. So, Mike Riding, I forgive you. I mean, it's so obvious to me now. He wasn't talking about me then. He was talking about himself. He was scared. He was so scared about what I was doing. We were pretty close to each other, and he was scared. He never would have made a decision like that to move to another country and start his own business. It's way too scary for him, and so he was just projecting that onto me. And so with that realization, it makes it so much easier to forgive him, to let that go, to know that it wasn't about me, that it was just the pain that he was feeling at the time with me leaving, and the fear that it was bringing up in him, and it wasn't a reflection on me at all. And just that, and that's the only process that I needed to go through to forgive him, is to understand that he was trying to protect me. He was trying to protect me because he was applying his fear to me, thinking that his fear was reality and that I should take heed of that. And so he was trying to protect me. So there's a perfect example of how to do it. No phrases to say, no like incantations or anything like that for it to happen. It's just an understanding, and you'll feel it. You'll feel the lightness and the relief when you get there, when that understanding is there, and it's just so much easier. And you get to that point when you realise it wasn't personal to you, it was personal to them. And so as you're doing this, as you're forgiving people, and of course, the bigger the pain, the harder it is to do. And it requires us to fully face and often feel the pain that happened as well, especially if it's something that happened in the past that we didn't, that we haven't processed yet, that we haven't really felt yet, that we've been resisting. It's to really feel that, really feel it now, and go through all of it and how it made you feel and everything. Because when you get to that point of really feeling it, just like in the self-healing 101, really feeling it all, admitting to it all, and then doing the forgiveness work. That's when you'll be able to get to do this forgiveness of other people. And so in step 2, it's all about self-forgiveness, and this is the one that's just going to blow your mind. So use both of these steps each time that you do this process. Use both of them, because we hold on to unforgiveness for other people as well as unforgiveness for ourselves at exactly the same time in the same situations. So always do the two together.